I was living the life of more or less a regular 19-year-old teenager, going to university, my whole future in front of me. And I'd been mountain biking, and I came home and was kicking a basketball, and suddenly was having trouble feeling the ball with my foot. Within 20 minutes, that feeling of numbness and hypersensitivity went all the way up to my chest. And then other symptoms like leg spasms started to happen, and went to the doctor and was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. When you get a diagnosis like MS, right, which is there's no known cause, no cure, and we all have images of our mind of how disabled and awful of a disease it can be, because it's unpredictable and the decline can be rapid or it can be long-term, but normally the consequences are quite severe. So at the time, there weren't a lot of drug therapies that were available. So my dad, he's the kind of guy who didn't want to accept that. And he plunged himself into the medical research and kept looking for answers. And what he went after was trying to find a cause. So if he could treat cause, then we could, figure out how to stop this. And what he came across was diet. So the dietary changes were pretty, strict. So it was, elimination of dairy, elimination of gluten, beans, high fat, high sugar, high salt, and then increasing vegetables and low-fat meat was the big dietary shift. And that was 23 years ago, and I'm still on it. I mean, they still technically, they don't know the cause or the cure. And the drugs that they have offered have showed no scientific evidence to influence the long-term progression of the disease.
I have created this new video to address why I believe the MS Society of Canada needs major change to better help people like me and others with multiple sclerosis.
It's very easy for people, say, to perhaps call my situation a one-off, or that I was one of the lucky ones, or maybe I had a misdiagnosis, which people have also said. And so, I created the website mshope.com to share my story. We have another website, www.direct-ms.org, to give you the science behind the strategies. And so what I wanted to do is show other people's stories and say, hey, okay, look, this just isn't me. There are other people around the world who are doing this. They're just not getting the voice they need. And there are other people around the world who are doing other strategies, which mainstream medical would like them to do, and aren't doing that well. And we as taxpayers should start to question, why are we paying for these drugs?
They have so many millions and millions of dollars. Where does it go? What do they do with it? There's nothing to show. Just help me, man.
Truthfully, when I was shooting Living Proof, I really struggled. I mean, when I was out there meeting patients and seeing how, face-to-face in the rooms, and actually seeing the dramas and the traumas that the patients were going through, I really started to ask the question, why?
Sorry. What have I said that's upset you?
Why? And it's, and truthfully, selfishly, it's kind of like, why me? And then that's when I kept that scientific mind going. And I started to really get into concepts of quantum mechanics and quantum physics. And that started leading me to the truth. I did an experiment of just trying to live in truth and speaking the truth as much as I possibly could. And that ultimately led me to Jesus Christ. And that was a shock. I didn't understand it was truth that I first committed my life to. Multiple sclerosis is one thing. That's one thing I've dealt with in this life. There's some of the issues I've struggled with were depression and anxiety. And these went on for years, and as far back as I can remember. When Jesus Christ came into my life, those are gone. And I can look you in the face and tell you that's the truth. I now see those issues as spiritual issues versus some sort of mental health issue for me. When I accepted Jesus Christ and started to live in Christ, I watched both those issues disappear. It's been a radical transformation for me that way. I sometimes see MS Hope as a training ground, that God gave me this disease and this suffering for me to understand, okay, what it's like to suffer and how to stand up to give people hope. Well, that's through MS in one story. Now my next mission is to share the story of Jesus Christ. because there are a lot of people who need that hope and who are suffering from other conditions that Christ can heal.